apologies for not having made a video recently. I've been getting ready to make a move to Beijing, China. I'll be working for a large international shortwave broadcaster there. I think most of you can probably fill in the blanks as to who I'll be working for. So you'll be hearing my voice on some of these internationally allocated shortwave bands very shortly. I wanted to make a short video about the Icom R75, which has been a wonderful receiver. But when I first got it, I was a little bit frustrated because I didn't quite understand how to use all of the bells and whistles. But there's a trick to using it properly. The first, I think, is setting up a good antenna, or at least a decent outdoor antenna. It does not like indoor active antennas. I have an Apex Radio 700 DTA, which I really only use when it's storming outside and conditions are precluding the use of an outdoor antenna. And that relatively low impedance indoor active antenna works well with my portables. The Icom does not like them. So I have a random wire antenna, about a 20 meter random wire antenna up on the roof, and I'm going to show it to you guys in a few minutes. And as a pre-selector, I have the module from an MFJ 1020C active antenna. Now, the actual antenna for this thing was useless, the telescopic whip it came with. I mean, it did not pick up any signals at all, could barely pick up WWV, but it is a miracle worker with my random wire antenna. My random wire, just on its own, works very well on the 49 and 40 meter international, the 49 meter international broadcast band and the 40 meter amateur radio band. I really don't need anything to tune it for those bands because it's about half a wavelength. For these shorter bands, this thing works wonders. Here I'm on 25 meters listening to Radio Australia, and normally it's about, let's see, 1322 Zulu. Normally this band would start to be closing and I would be hearing some interference, or band noise rather, and here's Radio Australia. That's with no filtering. So the first tip with this is get a good antenna and a pre-selector or tuner if you need to use one for your long wire or random wire. The next tip is use the noise reduction, the notch filter, and the noise blanker only when you need to. Use the preamplifier only when you need to, because a lot of times these will create distortion that's unnecessary if you have such a clean signal. Here, all I'm using is the noise reducer, and it's on level 5. So less is more with all of these different bells and whistles. And if you have a lot of band noise, I don't here, but I'll show you my trick for that. Turn the gain down considerably until you can't hear your signal anymore. Turn the automatic gain control off, and then slowly turn the gain up until you have the best signal to noise ratio. And I found that works really well when you're trying to listen to a signal on a band that is perhaps closing, or when band conditions are not ideal. Let's see, what else with this? The twin passband tuning, play around with the filters a lot. The narrow filter is very narrow, and some say it's too narrow for broadcast. What I do is use the 2.4 kilohertz filters for both passband tuners. And then if I'm listening to a broadcast, I turn the first filter all the way to, I guess, 5 o'clock on the dial, and then adjust the next one as needed. But if you're using these other features on this receiver properly, you won't need to use the narrowband filter very often on international broadcast, only when there is adjacent signal interference or band conditions are just really bad. But if you are, for example, if you have a strong signal but a lot of band noise, turn off the preamplifier. If it is not DX, you can turn on your antenna attenuator. There are lots of things you can do to reduce noise besides resorting to the narrow AM filter. This receiver works wonderfully on the amateur bands, gets great reception on sideband. I have been able to pick up time signal stations in CW. I've been able to pick up utility signals from Ireland. The Shannon Volmet that I think I posted a video of a while ago. I had been hunting that for a while. This was able to get it. It really does. It's good on AM broadcast and the international shortwave bands, but it really shines on the amateur bands, and you can have a lot of fun tuning around the amateur bands and listening to hams work some awesome DX. On my other receivers, you know, a ham might be working DX, and I can hear him fine because he's maybe close by, you know, in my ITU zone, but I can't hear his caller. With this, I can always pick his caller out of the static, almost always. It is just an excellent receiver on sideband, an excellent receiver on CW. It absolutely can sort through a DX pileup and let you monitor the station that you want to hear. Alright, so for the next part of this video, I'm going to climb up onto my roof and show you the very rudimentary antenna that I have feeding this awesome receiver. Alright, thanks guys. I'll see you in a few minutes in 73.